Hey everyone, and welcome back to Chat Like a Native. So, you're out there, you've learned all the English grammar, you're building up your vocabulary, but, maybe something is still missing. Maybe you're not quite sounding like a native speaker yet.
Yeah.
Well, today we're going to dive into one of the big secrets.
Okay.
Phrasal verbs.
Ooh, yes.
They can be a bit tricky,
Right.
but they're absolutely essential if you want to unlock that natural fluency and really sound like a native speaker.
Definitely. And they're so much fun.
I think so too.
Yeah.
So let's get started with this idea that we found, which suggests that mastering phrasal verbs is maybe even more important than perfect grammar when it comes to sounding fluent.
That's an interesting point.
Yeah.
'Cause so often we get caught up in, memorizing all those grammar rules.
Yeah.
But native speakers, we use phrasal verbs all the time without even thinking about it.
Right.
It's just how we talk.
That's how we think.
It's how we think, exactly. And it adds this really dynamic and expressive quality to the language that you just can't get with just, basic grammar.
It's not just about being correct. It's about sounding natural and, like you said, expressive.
Right. Like, for example, instead of saying, I postponed the meeting, which sounds a bit formal, you could say, I put off the meeting.
Okay. Yeah.
Which is, shorter, more casual, and it flows better.
It's more natural.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay. That makes a lot of sense. Yeah. So I've got here a list
Okay.
of the top 20 phrasal verbs every learner should know.
Oh, nice.
And looking through it, some of them are pretty straightforward, but some of them, like the put off that we just talked about, really highlight how much more natural phrasal verbs can sound.
Mm-hmm.
What are some of the ones that stand out to you?
Well, give up is a good one.
Oh, yeah.
Because it's so versatile. I mean, it can mean to quit something completely, like I gave up smoking.
Right.
But it can also express just a more temporary sense of frustration, like I gave up on trying to solve that puzzle.
Oh, right.
So it's really about the feeling behind the words.
You're not just stating a fact. You're kind of giving the listener a glimpse into what's going on in your head.
Exactly.
What about look forward to?
Oh, that's a great one too, because it's not just about anticipating something.
Right.
It's about expressing, excitement. Positive emotions, like I'm looking forward to seeing you later. Sounds so much warmer and more inviting than just saying, I will see you later.
Oh, yeah. It's more like you're sharing that excitement with the person.
Right, exactly. Like you're inviting them to be excited with you.
Yeah. And that's kind of the magic of phrasal verbs, isn't it?
I think so.
It's not just about learning a new word. It's about understanding how to use it in a way that conveys, emotion and a specific meaning.
Mm-hmm. And that's why, context is so important.
Oh, absolutely.
You can't just memorize a list of phrasal verbs and expect to use them correctly.
Right.
You need to see them in action,
Yeah.
Hear how native speakers use them in different situations.
It's like watching TV shows or movies.
Exactly. Or even reading books.
Yeah.
It's all about immersing yourself in the language and kind of absorbing those natural patterns.
It's almost like learning to dance.
Yeah. Right.
You wouldn't just read the steps in a book.
No.
You would want to see someone actually, doing the moves.
Absolutely. You want to see how it flows together,
Yeah.
Like how the music influences the movement. And it's the same with phrasal verbs.
Okay, and this source actually recommends something that I think would be really helpful for our listeners.
Right.
Which is grouping phrasal verbs by topic.
Mm-hmm.
Like travel phrasal verbs or business phrasal verbs or ones that you use in casual conversation.
Right.
Could you give us a few examples of those?
Sure. So for travel, you might have check-in, take off, set out.
Okay.
For business, we often use follow up or take over.
Mm-hmm.
And in casual settings, you'll hear things like hang out or chill out.
I like that. I like that one, chill out.
Yeah, it's a good one.
Yeah. And it's amazing how we use these phrases all the time without even thinking about it. But for someone who's learning English, it can be a whole new world of vocabulary to master.
It definitely can, and it can be overwhelming.
Yeah.
But I think the key is to just start small,
Okay.
and focus on the phrasal verbs that are most relevant to you and to your interests.
And definitely don't try to learn them all at once.
Yeah, no, that's a recipe for disaster.
Just pick a few that you find interesting or useful.
Yeah.
And start, incorporating them into your speaking and writing.
Mm-hmm. And remember, it's not about memorizing lists. It's about actually using them.
Right.
In real-life conversations.
So don't be afraid to make mistakes.
Exactly. That's how we learn.
That's how we learn.
Yeah.
All right, so to sum up,
Mm-hmm.
phrasal verbs are super important if you want to sound natural and fluent in English.
Yeah, they add color, nuance, expression, all those things.
Yeah. And they might seem a little tricky at first,
Mm.
but if you approach them with, a sense of curiosity and a willingness to experiment,
Mm-hmm.
you'll find that they can actually be a lot of fun.
Absolutely.
And they'll really help you to express yourself in a more authentic and engaging way.
Definitely.
Okay, so we've talked about why phrasal verbs are so important.
Yeah.
Now let's look at some specific examples
Okay.
from this top 20 list.
Sounds good.
Turn down.
Ooh, that's a good one.
Yeah, I feel like it's got a much stronger meaning than just saying reject.
Yeah, it's definitely more like a decisive no.
Okay.
Like you're not just refusing, but you're really like closing the door on something.
Right, yeah.
And I think that's a nuance you can only really get with a phrasal verb.
Makes sense. What about breakdown?
Oh, yeah. That's a classic example of how phrasal verbs can have both literal and figurative meanings.
Yeah, your car can break down.
Exactly.
Or you could have like a mental breakdown.
Right. And they both paint very different pictures in our minds.
Yeah, they do, even though it's the same two words.
Mm-hmm. And that's the beauty of phrasal verbs, right? They can be so evocative.
Yeah, so context is super important.
Oh, absolutely.
If I say, my computer broke down,
Yeah.
you're not going to think that I'm crying on the floor.
Hopefully not.
What about makeup?
Oh, another good one.
You can make up a story, or you can make up with a friend after an argument.
Exactly. So, again, the context will tell you which meaning is intended.
Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah.
It's like you really can't just translate these word for word from your native language.
Yeah, it doesn't always work. You might end up saying something that sounds really strange.
So how do we get better at using these phrasal verbs correctly?
Well, I think the most important thing is to just start using them.
Okay.
Don't be afraid to make mistakes. It's all part of the learning process.
So just like jump in and start talking.
Yeah, exactly. The more you use them, the more natural they'll become.
Like anything else in language learning.
Right. Practice makes perfect.
I love that this source encourages us to get creative.
Oh, yeah. It's not about being perfect. It's about finding your own voice.
Yeah.
And expressing yourself in a way that feels authentic.
That's a great point.
Yeah.
So let's talk about phrasal verbs that we use in casual conversations.
Okay.
Like you mentioned hang out and chill out earlier.
Mm-hmm.
What are some others that our listeners might find useful?
Well, catch up is a really common one.
Oh, yeah.
We use it when we haven't seen someone for a while and we want to, hear what they've been up to.
Okay, like let's catch up soon.
Exactly. Or we should catch up for coffee sometime.
Yeah. I feel like that one always trips me up a little bit.
I know it can be tricky, but just keep practicing.
What about phrasal verbs for making plans?
Oh, those are essential for social situations.
Yeah, like figure out.
Yes, figure out is a great one. It means to solve a problem or make a decision.
Like we need to figure out where to go for dinner.
Exactly. Or I haven't figured out my schedule yet.
That's a good one, come up with.
Oh, yeah. Another good one. It means to think of an idea or a solution.
Okay, like we need to come up with a better plan.
Exactly.
I feel like I'm already starting to sound more like a native speaker just by saying these out loud.
I told you practice makes perfect.
This source actually suggests a challenge for our listeners.
Oh, fun.
Choose one new phrasal verb every day
Okay.
and try to use it in a conversation.
I love that idea.
It doesn't have to be anything complicated.
Right.
It could be something as simple as, I'm looking forward to the weekend,
Yeah.
or can you help me figure out this puzzle?
Exactly. The point is to just get comfortable using them.
In real life situations.
Mm-hmm. And, maybe you'll inspire someone else to start using phrasal verbs too.
Yeah, we can all start using more phrasal verbs.
Spread the love.
I love it.
Yeah.
It's amazing how much, personality and humor you could add to your English just by using the right phrasal verbs.
Yeah, they're really like the spice of the language.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So like, once you start using them, you're not just speaking English. You're connecting with the culture and the humor.
Right. It's like you're understanding the inside jokes.
Yes, exactly.
And the subtle references that native speakers use all the time.
And that's what makes it so fun, right?
Absolutely.
Because it's like you're not just, deciphering the words.
You're like understanding the whole, the subtext.
Yeah, the feeling behind the words.
The cultural context.
Exactly. And that's what real fluency is all about.
Yeah, so let's give our listeners a challenge.
Okay, I like challenges.
Think back to that list of the top 20 phrasal verbs.
Okay.
And choose one that you've always wanted to use, but maybe you've been a little bit afraid to. Write it down, put it on a sticky note, set a reminder on your phone.
Yeah, whatever works.
Whatever it takes.
Mm-hmm.
And then your mission, should you choose to accept it,
I love it.
is to use that phrasal verb in a real-life conversation this week.
Yes, go out there and try it.
It could be with a friend. It could be with a colleague.
Right.
It could even be with a stranger at the coffee shop.
It doesn't matter who. Just use it.
Yeah, the point is to actually put your knowledge into practice.
And don't be afraid to make mistakes.
You're going to make mistakes.
We all do. It's part of the process.
That's how we learn.
Exactly.
So remember, the goal here is not to be perfect.
No.
It's to be confident and to have fun.
Yeah, just have fun with it.
Express yourself.
Exactly.
So go out there, experiment, have fun, and who knows, maybe you'll even inspire someone else.
Yeah, spread the phrasal verb love.
I love that. Okay, well, that brings us to the end of our deep dive into the world of phrasal verbs.
It's been a good one.
I hope you've enjoyed it as much as we have, and that you feel inspired to, start adding some of these amazing phrases into your own English.
Yeah, make your English more colorful, more expressive, more you.
Exactly. And remember, the beauty of language is that it's always evolving.
It is.
So don't be afraid to, play around, make mistakes, and most importantly,
Have fun.
have fun with it.
Yeah,
Keep chatting, keep learning, and keep striving to chat like a native.
that's right.
Until next time, happy chatting.
Bye.